while trolling the less respectable bars. Nothing new in that, really. Being a female lieutenant with tough-as-nails notoriety complicated dating. And with her particular tastes, you shouldn't be out here alone. Before she could register that deep voice as someone she recognized, Margo had her coat open, her loaded Glock in her hand. The weapon didn't faze him. Tall and handsome and far too carefree, he stared into her eyes. Even in the dim light through the never-ending sleet, she saw his crooked smile and she felt his anticipation. Well, hell. Spending hours in a classless bar amid nasty drunks had less impact on her tension than Dashiel Riske's half-smile. She didn't lower the gun, but she did keep her finger off the trigger. Stupid move, Dash. Approaching you in the dark? He stepped closer and, moving her gun hand aside, put his fists in the lapels of her coat and pulled it closed against the blustering wind. The position had his hands near her breasts and caused her heartbeat to stall. Would you shoot me? No. She was trained enough to discern a threat before firing. But I might slug you. Taking liberties, he slid his hands up and under her collar to draw her closer. Is that forthcoming? He angled his face down to hers. Should I duck for cover? No. If he weren't so warm, she'd have pushed him away. Maybe. Dash was such a player, never taking anything seriously, most especially not women. Where other men hesitated, he forged on with sensual confidence born from success. For a while there he'd hung at the bars with her, specifically Rowdy's bar, Getting Rowdy, the closest to where the women had been grabbed. He'd adequately allowed her to use him as a prop in her scam. With Dash, she could pretend to be an easy drunk and easier prey. Even though she'd sometimes sat on his lap, kissed his neck or ear, even felt him up, other women had come on to him. She didn't like to think he had done without during their ruse. But she hated even more to think of him hooking up. When she started to feel jealous, she knew she had to cut him free. At first he'd objected, but then the holidays had come and the department had given up on finding the sick fucks responsible. What are you doing here, Margo? After a glance around, she tucked the Glock 40 back into the specially designed inside pocket of her coat, where she also kept another fully loaded magazine. What are you doing here? I vote we sit in your car out of this ice storm and then I'll tell you. It beat freezing to death, so Margo turned and, with a touch of her hand to the driver's side handle, released the auto lock. Sliding into the leather seat, she pushed the keyless ignition button. Dash walked around the hood and folded his big body into the passenger seat. The small, sleek car fit her perfectly, but Dash's muscular frame looked a little squashed, making her almost smile. You can move the seat back, she told him. Thanks. He adjusted it, which allowed him to stretch out his jean-covered legs a few inches. The interior felt like a meat locker from having been in the dark, bitter cold. She turned up the heater, set the climate control for both heated seats, and relocked the doors. New ride? A gift to myself. But she didn't want to talk to Dash about that. She'd spent too many months blocking him from all personal thoughts. He studied her in silence. How long were you at the bar? Far too long, considering it had turned out to be a waste of time. Why? Just wondering if you might have had a little too much to drink. Of course I didn't. He'd done this routine with her enough times to know she never let herself get tipsy. She had the slightest buzz, but was as rock-steady as ever. A few beers, that's all. Beer, huh? Long necks? Of course. She varied her routine from one bar to the other, just in case her drinking habits factored into the minds of the psychopaths preying on their victims. She showed up at each bar pretending to be already drunk, and then added to that perception by her loose behavior. I suppose you're as good at holding your liquor as you are at everything else.